It only took me 27 years to get to this stage. But listen, I've had the opportunity to speak to a lot of audiences in my career. And I have to tell you, having sat here these last couple days, this group, you've got to be one of the most vibrant, one of the most engaged, one of the most professional audiences I've ever seen. I mean, seriously, give yourselves a big round of applause. I'm serious, you deserve that. Now, real quick, turn to the person next to you and just tell them, you know, you really do look vibrant today. Go ahead. Watch. Hey, listen, you know what? That was for those of you that haven't gotten your positive affirmations in yet today. So I just wanted to make sure we built you up a little bit here, right? Okay, so you guys ready to have some fun? Okay. You know, I've devoted a big part of my life to speaking, coaching, training. And back in 2007, I was assigned to work with a young agent by the name of Jeff Glover. And I was very fortunate to have a chance to work with him for about 3 years and very blessed to be able to keep a relationship, a friendship with him ever since. And so honestly, I just want to take this moment to publicly thank him, and as well as Kate and Taylor and Kathy and the rest of the Glover U crew just for the chance to be here to speak to you today. Okay? So who would like to know some of the things that I worked on with Jeff in that first year? Okay. All right, listen. If you're not into this is cool. It's all right. I actually prepared a second set of notes. All right, and I entitled that presentation, The Top 10 Things That Unproductive Agents Do to Stay Mediocrity. Does that sound like fun? You guys want to go through that one instead? Okay, listen, you want to know the number one thing that unproductive agents do to stay that way? You want to know what it is? They make the decision not to attend any Glover U events. Am I right? Watch, that is the truth. All right, so let me ask you again. Who would like to hear some of the things that I worked on with Jeff? If that's you, raise your hand and say, Okay, awesome. So listen, I'm excited because my outcome for this session is to take you on a journey, okay, kind of give you a sneak peek behind the scenes of just kind of what it was like to work with Jeff for at least that first year or two. And to do that, I'm hoping to be both repetitive and inspiring. And the journey is going to end with a moment of decision, okay? And then you're going to have an opportunity to take some action. Now, some of you might be saying, wait a minute, James, did you just say repetitive? Like, why should I get excited about the fact that you're going to be repetitive? Like, why do I want to sit here and listen to a whole bunch of things I've heard before? Okay, watch, write this down. Okay, write this down. Repetition is the mother of all skill. Repetition is the mother of all what? Skill. How much skill?
All of it.
All skill. Okay, listen, watch. If I came out here today and I said to you, you know what, this morning I'm going to share 5 things with you that you have never heard before. Should you believe me? Come on, should you believe me? No, why not? Well, because I'd be lying, okay? First of all, listen, gang, there is no secret sauce. There is no magic pills in this business. Okay, all right, watch. Let's take a step back. Who thinks there might actually be a few magic pills, a few things you can implement and just get instant results in your business? Who thinks that? Yeah, there's always one, usually on drugs. But watch, everybody look up here for a second, okay? Have you heard some things so far at this event that you've heard before? Raise your hand if you've heard some things at this event that you've heard before. Watch, look around the room right now. Look around the room, okay? But have you gotten value from those things? Yes. Have you gotten value? Come on. Yes. All right, good. Now, I want you to keep your hand up if you are doing 100% of the things that Jeff teaches and you're doing them at a level 10. If that's you, keep your hand up real high. Okay, so for the 9 of you that kept your hands up, I just want to let you know, we're actually sharing space here at the resort this year with another group. It's called Liars Anonymous. Okay, I'm going to suggest you go check out one of their meetings. Okay? But seriously, listen, repetition is critical to mastery, gang. Okay? It is absolutely critical to mastery. So I said, look, my second outcome is that even though you've heard some of these things before, I want to inspire you to take action. I want to inspire you to take action on these points because, listen, execution trumps knowledge, gang. Every single time, execution trumps knowledge. Okay? So those are my goals. Those are my outcomes for our time together today. And I promise you, my goal is to deliver value, but I need something from you. Okay? I need something from you. It's called participation. What's the word?
Participation.
Thank you. Okay, so you're saying, well, okay, great. What does participation look like? Okay? Well, for starters, participation means you probably should stay awake. Can someone give this guy right over here a nudge? See that guy right there in the red shirt? Can you give him a nudge? Wake him up? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. He's wide awake. He's over there looking at everybody. No, seriously, I'm not sleeping. I do that once in a while, just to keep myself entertained. But listen, participation means this. Watch, you take notes. Okay, you take notes. Participation means that you raise your hand, right? Call and response. So I call out, say, hey, raise your hand if, and you raise your hand. Participation means that you answer out loud, right, when I ask questions, because I'm going to be asking some questions from the stage, right? So you answer. Look it, watch. Participation just means this. It means you're here. You're focused. You're present, okay? So let me ask you a question. Do I have your commitment to participate? Yes. Okay, left side of the room. Do I have your commitment? Yes. Okay, middle of the room. Good. Right side of the room, you going to participate? Yes. Okay, where's my back row crew? All you guys and gals in the back row, are you going to participate? Yes? Come on, real loud. Okay, awesome. So let's do this, all right? I've got a list of 7 things that I put together from just going through all my notes, okay? How many things? 7 things that I worked on with Jeff. Now watch, I could have come out here with a list of 20, okay? But I've got, 35, 40 minutes. We needed to kind of boil it down to some essentials, all right? And I want you to know, I knew the path Jeff needed to take, okay? And I knew that I needed to lead him along that path in a way that would make sense, right? In a logical way that would just kind of layer some things as we built on them, okay? So that together we could get to the end goal that he desired, okay? So are we ready? Yes. All right, let's do this, all right? I want you to write down point number 1. There's a fly on my notes. I guess he wanted to learn something. All right, point number 1, I want you to write these 2 words down for me, please. Accountability and consequences. Okay, accountability and consequences. Okay, accountability and consequences. Okay, this is where Jeff's path began. Okay, so we need to get that out of the way right up front. This is where his path began. Because see, I knew that Jeff wanted to massively shift his results in that next 6 to 12 months. Okay, and I knew what that was going to take. I knew it was going to be intense, okay? Show of hands if you also are looking to massively shift your results in the next 12 months, okay? So listen, if that's you, I need you to embrace accountability, okay? Embrace accountability. Because, listen, you've heard the story, Jeff kind of referenced it, okay? That one of the very first calls we had where we broke down his numbers. In fact, I think they're going to put it up on the screen, if they can put the notes on the screen. See, these are my actual notes from December 5th, 2007, where we literally went through and had a conversation about what it was going to take to get the kind of results that he wanted. Now, see, some of you are sitting here saying, you know what, man, I would love some good results from my business too. So if you're looking to have good results from your business, I'm here to tell you it's going to take a great effort. Okay? Good results require a great effort. Now, some of you are thinking, no, man, I don't want good results. I want a great result. Excellent. If that's you, if you're looking for a great result, guess what? It's going to require an outstanding effort. Okay? An outstanding effort. And for those of you that are looking for an outstanding effort, I can tell you right now, it is going to require an extraordinary effort. An extraordinary effort. And here's what I know. Extraordinary efforts. They don't just happen, okay? Extraordinary efforts do not just happen absent from accountability, okay? I don't know that I can emphasize this enough. I want you to think of accountability as sort of like the booster rocket that gets the spacecraft off the launch pad and up into orbit. Okay, that's like accountability. Now, see, once it's up there, once the spacecraft is up there, these little internal rockets fire, these little internal jets, they pop out and they kind of steer the rocket and keep it moving in the direction it needs to go, okay? Your habits are those internal forces that will keep you going. Okay? They will keep you going. But listen, until they kick in, gang, you need a stronger external force to help you break old patterns, to help to push you when you don't feel like doing things. And that's accountability. Okay? So listen, let's just be honest. There's going to be days for you, just like there were for Jeff, when you need a kick in the pants. We all do. But let me ask you a question. Does accountability work if there are no consequences for you not doing your part? What do you think? It doesn't, right? Okay, and you can see on these notes, we defined a very clear consequence. And again, you've heard him share the story, right? That he needed to set an appointment every single day and get on an appointment every day, the way we broke it down. And I knew he didn't like doors because I asked him early on. And I said, all right, guess what? That's your consequence. Okay? You don't get the appointment, you're going to go knock doors for an hour or more every single day. Okay? So 2 questions I have for you. I want you to think about these. You can write them down if you want. What is the area of my life that I know I need even more accountability in? Okay? What is the area of my life that I know I need even more accountability in? Okay? And then the second question is, what is the consequence you are willing to allow to be put in place if you don't do your part? Okay? What is the consequence? And listen, this is the key right here. What is the consequence you are willing to allow to be put in place if you don't do your part? Okay? Because listen, if you do not submit to accountability, if you don't have buy-in to the concept of accountability, if you're not willing to have a consequence in place, it ain't going to work. Okay? So just as we began this point, and I told you must embrace accountability, I want you to repeat that out loud after me, okay? I must embrace accountability. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I must embrace accountability. Okay? Now, hey, go ahead, turn to the person next to you and just ask them, hey, on the next break, you want to practice embracing? No, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. All right, real quick before we get to our next point. What? Oh, I get it. You probably think it's a bad idea for me to light this up right now, am I right? Okay, watch. I get it. We take steps to pay attention to what we allow into our physical bodies, right? We kind of protect our bodies, keep them strong. Let me ask you a question. How much effort do we put into protecting what goes in up here? How much focus do we put on making sure we have a strong mindset, right? Because that's this point. Point number 2, it's mindset. Some of you are like, dang, that was clever, man. I'm going to try that at my next team meeting. Okay? But listen, mindset. Watch, Jeff already had a strong mindset. Okay, Jeff had a strong mindset. But I remember our very first call of 2008. I said to him, Jeff, listen, here's what I want you to do. I want you to listen to a recording called Goal Setting and Motivation. And this was out of a workbook we were referencing at the time, right? Goal setting and motivation. I said there's a specific point in there, point number 5, that says if your goal is to sell 100 homes, don't be surprised if your life gets out of balance for a while. That's what I said. I said, Jeff, I want you to focus on that point. If your goal is to sell 100 homes, don't be surprised if your life gets out of balance for a while. Okay, now listen, I know a lot of you in the room. I know a lot of you in the room may not have a goal to sell 100 homes in the next year. But here's what I know. If you are in growth mode, okay, if you are working on some of these concepts, if you're looking to implement some changes, I can almost promise you there's going to be some time that your life gets temporarily out of balance. It's just part of the process, okay? Just part of the process. So here's a question for you. I want you to think about this. What area of my life am I willing to back off a little bit on so that I can free up some more bandwidth to focus on my production? Okay? Write that down. What area of my life am I willing to just kind of take a step back from a little bit so that I can free up some more bandwidth to be able to focus on my production? Okay? What area of my life am I willing to back off a little bit? A number of years ago, I was at an event, a lot like this event. And there was panels, right? And one of the people up on the panel, he said something. He said something that, man, it just stuck with me. I remember I wrote it down, and I was just so impacted. I've probably had conversations with agents 100 times about this ever since. And here's what he said. He said, your mind can be a shield. He said, your mind can be a shield if you want to use it to protect yourself. He said, your mind can also be a weapon. He said, your mind can be a weapon if you decide to use it that way. But then he said this. He said, your mind will never be your friend until you train it to be. Your mind will never be your friend until you train it to be. And I thought, man, that is strong. That is powerful. Show of hands, can our minds get us in trouble once in a while, yes or no? Absolutely. Do not let those suckers out alone, okay, by themselves, okay? We need to train our minds to make some of these adjustments, to work on some of these things, right? And why is that? Because listen, our natural tendency is just to go back to what's comfortable. Our natural tendency is just to go back to what we know and what feels good. But again, here's what I know. There are going to be times in your journey when you are not comfortable. Okay? There's going to be times when you're not comfortable. I mean, listen, man, Jeff would work hard, and then he'd get worn out. He'd get worn out. I mean, there were times where he was carrying 70 or more listings at a time by himself. 70 or more listings. We had metrics. There were several times where we had it set up that he needed to get 3 to 5 price reductions a day. 3 to 5 price reductions a day. Who thinks that would be fun? Like spend a good hour, get on the phone with a bunch of sellers that are already underwater, by the way, and tell them, oh yeah, you got to reduce your price again. Who thinks that would be fun? Man, it was grueling. It was grueling. So one day I said to Jeff, I asked him, I said, Jeff, what do you know about auto racing? He's like, I don't know, not much. You get in your car, you go fast, you try to win. I said, okay, yeah, that's cool. We can work with that. But I said, let me share something with you. Because see, baked into the process of the auto race is a concept called the pit stop. The pit stop. And the pit stop runs completely counterintuitive to the concept of the race. Because like Jeff said, the goal of the race is you get in your car, it's pedal to the metal, you go as fast as you can, you get in front of everybody else, you stay in front of everybody else, and you cross the finish line first. That's the goal of the auto race, right? Am I right? Yes or no? Yes. Okay? But watch this. So listen, you're there. You're leading the race, and all of a sudden, the call comes in on your headset and your helmet. All right, James, we need you to pull off the track and come in for a pit stop. And you're like, what are you talking about? Are you kidding? I'm leading the race. Did you not notice the leaderboard? I'm literally leading the race. You're telling me you want me to slow down, let people pass me, pull off the track, and come to a complete stop. Is that what you're telling me? Yeah, that's right, James, and you might be here for a minute or so. It makes no sense, right? But here's what we know. There's not been a single winner of an auto race of more than 30 laps where the winner has not taken at least one pit stop, usually multiple times. They take pit stops. What's the point? Point is, gang, we need pit stops too, okay? We need pit stops too. Why do we need pit stops? Because guess what? If you're out there in that race, because I know how it is. I know how it is. You're out there. You're going. And guess what? You keep going, and if you don't stop and come in, your car runs out of what? Say it again. Gas. Fuel, gas. Yeah, listen, as you're in the race, as you're going around every lap, your tires are slowly losing tread, okay? You literally will run out of traction and you will crash your car if you don't go in for a pit stop. It's the same with you, okay? If you don't embrace this concept of pit stops, you're going to run out of fuel. Okay, you're going to lose traction. So I said to Jeff, look, man, I need you to take at least 2 15-minute mindset breaks every day. At least 2 every day. Now, why don't we do this? Who can tell me why? Why don't we do this? Watch. Because we lie to ourselves and tell ourselves we don't have time. That's the truth. Well, I don't have time for that. I'm too busy. How can I? So I said, Jeff, look, you need to step out of the race. You got to get out of the race. You need to recharge. You need to refuel. You need to get some traction back. You need to make some adjustments, and then you go back in the race. Okay? So listen, just like I said, embrace accountability. You got to embrace pit stops. Okay? You got to embrace the mindset break, because that's really what we're talking about, is a mindset break. Okay? Are we tracking? Yes. Awesome. All right, let's look at number 3. Number 3, I want you to write down practice and more practice. Okay? Practice and more practice. This is point number 3. Because listen, the level of your income is directly tied to your level of skill. Okay? Your level of income is directly tied to your level of skill. Show of hands if you're looking to increase your income. Okay? So 9 of you. Okay? So listen, if that's you, then this point is for you just like it was for Jeff, okay? Because listen, as Jeff and I determined that his goals were significant, they were significant enough to require strong accountability, and we put a plan in place to make sure he had a strong mindset, I said to him, Jeff, listen, you know what? We need to work on making your skills even stronger. Okay, we got to get you so skilled up that you will create separation between you and all your competition, okay? Because here's what we know. If repetition is the mother of all skill, skill is the mother of separation. Now you might be thinking, well, what does that mean? Well, one of the most common questions I often get from agents is they will say, listen, man, you know, a lot of other agents are out here, they're kind of doing the same thing. They're kind of out here saying the same thing. How do I differentiate myself? How can I separate myself from other people? Anybody ever felt that way? Anybody? Be honest. Okay. So you want to know the answer? The answer is you do what you do 10 times better than anybody else in your marketplace. So what does that mean? That means, listen, if they're sending out mailers and stuff, you're going to go ahead and mail and make calls. If they're calling, you're going to go ahead and you're going to text and call. If they're starting to text, you're going to start sending video texts. If they start sending video texts, you're going to start showing up at the door in person, and you're going to engage those people in a live conversation. If they start showing up at the door, you're going to start bringing even more valuable content and information to put into these people's hands. If they start showing up with information, you're going to go take a freaking acting class, and you are going to become such a dynamic, compelling, influential communicator that these people, these buyers and sellers, will not have a choice to do business with anyone else but you. If you're tracking with what I'm saying, give me a big yes. Okay? So we practice and we work on our skills so that we can create separation. A number of years ago, I remember that there was a golfer by the name of Curtis Strange. Okay, if you follow the golf world, you may know the name Curtis Strange. He was a pretty successful professional golfer on the PGA Tour. And someone once asked Curtis Strange, they said, Curtis, what's the difference, what do you think the difference is between a really good amateur golfer and a professional golfer? So he thought about it. He said, well, a good amateur golfer, they're going to go out, they're going to play their round of golf, they're going to track their score, and at the end of the round, they're going to go to the clubhouse and they're going to have a sandwich and a drink with their friends, whoever they played golf with. That's the amateur. He said the professional golfer, they're going to go out, they're going to play their round of golf, they're going to track their score. And at the end of their round, they're going to go to the practice range. And they're going to spend an hour or two working on every single shot they were not happy with in their round of golf. That's the professional. Okay? If you're looking to be paid more like a professional, can I see a show of hands? Okay, if that's you, then guess what? You need to behave like a professional. You need to practice like a professional. You know, it's already been alluded to how many times up here, the importance of embracing practice. So I've told you need to embrace accountability. I said you need to embrace pit stops. And I'm just telling you straight up, you need to embrace the concept of practice, because I cannot think of another professional industry that does not prioritize practice even over performance. I want you to think about that. What is the practice to performance ratio in terms of time for a professional sports organization? Think about how many hours they spend practicing to go play a 1-hour game. And yet, We're bitching if we have to spend 30 minutes a day practicing, for goodness sake, right? You need to embrace practicing. Okay? So are you following me in this sequence here? Thank you. At least one of you is. So let's look at point number 4. Okay, point number 4, because guess what the skill was that we spent probably the most time on of all? It's this point right here, point number 4, because I said to Jeff, I want you to become the presentation king. I want you to become the presentation king. So write that down. Become the presentation king or queen. Okay, obviously. Presentation king or queen. Because I said to Jeff, I said, man, imagine this. Imagine that you got so good at your listing presentation that when you finished, the sellers would look at each other and they'd push back from the table and they would get up and they would give you a standing ovation. I said, Jeff, imagine if your presentation was so damn good, you got a standing ovation every time you gave one. But I said, man, that's going to not only require practice, that is going to require a lot of preparation. The right materials, the right timing, the flow, the conversation, and obviously being able to handle objections and get to the close. There's a lot of preparation that goes into that. Okay? You guys will love this story. So it was 1997, downtown Toronto, a little independent company called Bosley Real Estate. This, by the way, so the owner, Ann Bosley was her name, she asked me to come in and do a 2.5-hour breakfast training event for her agents. She had about 200 agents. And this, by the way, this was the first professional speaking event I ever had. Okay? So I get there, and the first 30 minutes or so is breakfast. So, we're just sitting there, and I didn't really eat anything because I was a little nervous, but I did drink 4 cups of coffee. Some of you know where this might be going. So, we're doing our thing, we're eating or whatever, and just chit-chat, and all of a sudden it's like, boom, showtime, you're on. I'm like, oh, shoot. All right, so I get up, I grab my notes, and I introduce myself, and I start my 2.5-hour presentation. And I turned the last page of my notes in 45 minutes. So I'm like, oh, I'm looking at my watch, and they're all out there, they're looking at their watches, and I'm thinking, oh, who thinks that would be just a little bit of an awkward moment, right? So I'm like, oh, shoot, what the heck am I going to do now? So I'm like, all right, guess what? We're going to do a 15-minute bathroom break. All right, everybody take a 15-minute break, go get a drink, use the bathroom, do what you got to do, and whatever. So I'm heading to the bathroom, and I'm thinking, what in God's name am I going to do? I got an hour and a half left. It's like I want to, deliver value for these people. I want to earn my speaking fee, right? So I get back, I get everybody back in the room, and I think, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a Q&A, right? So I say, all right, everybody's back in their seats. Who has a question from the first, session? So a lady raises her hand. I said, all right, yes, what's your question? She says, well, James, I was just wondering, I was curious, are you a little nervous? I said, well, considering I finished I went through all my material a little bit early, I guess you could say so. Why do you ask? She's like, oh, no, I was just wondering why you were just in the ladies' room with me using the bathroom. True story, folks, true story. Yeah. So watch, is preparation important to giving a great presentation, yes or no? Yes. Absolutely. So listen, here's what I knew. I knew Jeff needed to be on a presentation every single day. So I said, Jeff, listen, man, we are going to work on getting you over-prepared. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to write out your entire listing presentation by hand every day for 90 days. That's what I told him. You probably heard him share the story. I said, write it out every day by hand for 90 days. And you know what? He did it. He did it. And he became the presentation king. Now, honestly, I don't know if he ever got a standing ovation, though. I guess I need to ask him if he ever got his standing ovation. But here's what we know. He became an amazing presenter. Are we right? Yeah. And we've seen that. We've seen it. We're going to continue to see it here this week. Okay? All right, so let's keep this moving. Point number 5. I want you to write down 4 words for me. Okay, 4 words. Delegation, leverage, and attention management. Okay? Just write down delegation, leverage, and attention management. Okay? Delegation, leverage, and attention management. And I want you to follow me on this, okay? Because see, as Jeff was doing all these things we've been talking about, his production was growing. Obviously, I mean, he was getting to a point where he was listing 8, 10, 12 houses every month. And in addition to that, he was selling 8, 10, 12 houses every single month. Okay? Who can see that there might start to become just a few things vying for his time? Who thinks that might have been the case, right? Look at some of you in the room right now, you're probably dealing with this as well based on your production. Okay? So I asked Jeff this question. Well, actually, let me give you a question to think about first. Okay? Actually, before I do that, I want to start something else. Sorry, I'm just trying to make this flow the right way. So there's a commodity. Okay? There's a commodity or a currency, if we want to call it that, called attention. Okay? So I want you to think of attention as a commodity, as a currency. Okay? Because often, look, sometimes the most valuable thing we can give someone is our what? Our attention, right? Sometimes, we've talked about that. Justin talked about that. We've heard so much talk about life-work balance. And sometimes the most valuable thing we can give someone is not our money, it's our time, it's our attention. So attention, because it's like a currency, it can be broken down into denominations. Okay, just like our American monetary system. We've got $5 bills, $20 bills, $100 bills, whatever. Okay, well, attention can actually be broken into 4 denominations. Okay, how many? 4. And I abbreviate them TEEF, T-E-E-F. Time, energy, emotion, and focus. Okay, time, energy, emotion, and focus. These are sort of subsets. They're denominations, if you will, of our attention. And as we invest these things, okay, we want an ROI on them. Just like we would if we invested any other currency, right? We want an ROI back on our time or our focus or whatever it is. So here's the real issue, okay? Because we only are given a certain amount of attention to work with every single day, okay? We only have a certain amount available to us on a daily basis. And so the biggest challenge, I want you to think about this. I want you to write this down. Turn to the person next to you and say, hey, you writing this down? You better be writing this down. The biggest challenge that we have is not deciding what to spend it on every day. The biggest challenge is deciding what we have to say no to spending it on. Okay? Let me repeat that. The biggest challenge we have is not deciding what we spend it on. It is deciding what we have to say no to spending it on. Okay? How many of you wish sometimes you could ever get some attention back that you put into something? Can I see your hands real high? Get some of the attention back. Look around the room right now. Look around the room. You're not alone. Okay? You're not alone. So I asked Jeff this question one day. I found it in my notes. I asked him, Jeff, what have you been saying yes to that you now are realizing you got to start saying no to? Okay? What have you been saying yes to that you are now realizing that you need to start saying no to? And that led to a lot of conversations around delegation and leverage and this thing called an attention audit, okay? Which, ironically enough, I don't really have time to get into right now, okay? But listen. What is the real problem here? What is the real problem here? The real problem is we want to say yes to everything. Am I right? We want to say yes to everything. Who's ever tried saying yes to too much besides me? Come on, be honest. Okay, you know what we call that, by the way? You know what we call that? We call that overdrawing the account. It's overdrawing the account. Okay, it's like you're tapped out, man. You got no more attention, you got no more time, you got no more energy, and yet you're still trying to spend it like you got it, but you don't got it. You're out, overdrawing the account. Okay? So again, Jeff and I, man, we had to get real. We had to get real about, what he could keep on his plate and what needed to be leveraged. And again, a lot of you in this room right now, you are in those types of moments of decision. Okay? And, again, I talked about this thing called an attention audit. I'll just tell you real quickly. An attention audit is basically this. And I would recommend that you set aside 30 minutes to an hour to think about this question. What or who is currently getting a significant amount of my attention that can no longer get a significant amount of my attention? Okay? And like I said, that's the hardest part of this conversation. is having to say, because we want to say yes to everything. But who or what is currently getting a significant amount of my attention that can no longer get a significant amount of my attention, okay? And while we're on this point, I want to talk about another tool that it's critical to this whole conversation, and it's called your schedule, okay? It's called your schedule. And I got to be honest, man, Jeff was kind of fanatical about his schedule and about attempting to follow his schedule. I think we went through like 6 or 7 different versions of his daily schedule in those 3 years or so that I worked with him. Because see, he would get busy, his production would grow, and he would start to have, more and more things on his plate. His time would become more valuable. So we had to take a look at it and say, okay, well, we got to make some tweaks, man. We got to get rid of some stuff. And then his production would grow again, and his time would become even more valuable. And then, we got to make those same decisions. We had to keep doing that. So I want you to think of your schedule as an investment strategy for your time. Okay? I want you to think of your schedule as an investment strategy for you, because remember, time is a currency. So it's no different than if you showed up at your financial planner's office and you said, hey, check it out, man. I got, 25 grand, I got 50 grand, I got 150 grand. I want you to invest it for me. I want you to put it into something, and I want an ROI back. You have that same exact decision to make every single day with your time. What am I going to invest it into that is going to give me the kind of ROI that I'm looking for? Okay? So again, schedule is an investment strategy for your time. Okay? So let's look at number 6. Number 6, at this point is one of my favorites because it ties right in with what we just said. Because guess what? There's no better way to stop wasting time than stop going on unqualified appointments. Oh man, this is like the biggest time suck that I see with agents is they overcommit themselves before they ever qualify. They don't ask any questions. Oh yeah, sure, man, I'll be there. Right? All right, show of hands, be honest. Have you ever gone on an unqualified appointment? Come on, be honest. Hey, watch, look around the room. Look around the room. Okay? You're not alone. Okay? And listen, you know exactly what I mean. Okay? You're 6 minutes into that listing presentation, and you're like, what in God's name am I doing here? Like, I have no business sitting with these sellers right now, right? And then all of a sudden, your mind starts to go just a little wonky. You start to get these crazy thoughts like, well, God, what am I going to do? And you start thinking of these things, and finally, you're like, well, maybe if I just pretend to pass out. Maybe if I literally just let myself fall face forward into the table, these people are going to freak the heck out. These sellers, man, they're probably going to call an ambulance, and I'm going to get whisked out of here, man, and I can slip away and make my escape later. That's my strategy. Like, you literally start thinking these crazy things, okay? I got a better idea. How about you just pre-qualify, right? How about you just, ask some more questions so you know what you're doing, okay? But listen, this point, I'm telling you, pre-qualifying. A few points ago, we talked about the presentation, right? And in a lot of ways, listen to what I'm going to say. In a lot of ways, I believe this point is even more important than the presentation. Now, why would I say that? Because listen, if you're not sitting with the right seller, I don't care how good your presentation is. Okay? Listen, think about that. If you are not sitting with the right buyer or the right seller, I don't care how good of a presenter you are. They ain't buying what you're selling because they don't have to. They don't need to. They're not motivated to. Okay? So think about that. And I know I keep saying things like this, but what I'm going to say next might just be one of the most important things I say in this entire session. Okay? So I want you to listen. I want you to write this down. If you want to become a more efficient business person, who wants to become a more efficient business person? Okay, so like 22 out of 1,100. We're doing better. We're gaining some momentum here. I can feel it. But listen, if you want to become a more efficient business person, you need to learn how to distinguish the difference between interested and committed. Okay? You need to start figuring out quickly the difference between interested and committed because there's a huge difference. A huge difference between someone who is interested in doing something and someone who is committed to doing something. Okay? Are we tracking? Do you get what I'm saying? Okay. There's a huge difference, okay? So listen, your job every day, your job. Now listen, they never teach you this, by the way, in licensing school. okay? When you're going to get your license, they don't ever tell you this. In fact, sadly enough, most of the time when you go join a new brokerage or you join a new team, even they don't tell you this. But here's your job every day. You ready? Your job is to identify the people in your marketplace who are committed to buying or selling in the near future. That's it. Period. That's your job. Identify the people in my marketplace who are committed, not interested, not thinking about it, not if, the moon's in alignment with Uranus, which we're not going to talk about Uranus right now, okay? They're committed to buying or selling a property in the near future, okay? That's your job. So listen, there's two reasons why we pre-qualify hard like this, okay? Two reasons. One is, as we just mentioned, we don't want to waste time. It's too valuable. It's too valuable. We don't want to waste time. But the second reason that it's so important to pre-qualify like this is because it gives you an even better chance of getting the contract signed on the appointment, okay? Because you've already eliminated the objections. You know exactly what you're walking into and what you have to present to because you've asked some questions, okay? Now, look, I'm not going to break down the whole pre-qual script right now. We don't have time for that. You all have access to the pre-qual script, but here's what I know. Of all the topics that Jeff and I talked about, as I was going through all my notes, the two things that kept coming up the most often, pre-qualifying and price reductions. For those years when I was working with them, those are the two most common things we had conversations around, okay? All right, let's keep moving. Let's finish up with number 7. Point number 7, I want you to write down the value of working your database, okay? Now again, we've talked a lot about this, gang, but remember, repetition is the mother of all what? Skill. 7 of you remember. Repetition is the mother of all what? Skill. Skill, okay? There's a reason this appeared in my top 7 of all the stuff that I was working on with Jeff, okay? The value of working your database. And after that, I want you to write down 2 more words. I want you to write down the words compounding relationships, okay? Just write down compounding relationships. And we'll get back to that in a second. But see, when I started working with Jeff was young, and he was a little impatient, okay? He was a driver, okay? So I can think of so many times where he would say things to me like, man, I feel like calling my past clients and calling my sphere is such a waste of time because I want the right now business. I want to get out an appointment right now. Today, I want to set one. I said, all right, Jeff, slow down a minute. I said, let me ask you something. Are you going to be here, in real estate? Are you going to be here in 2 to 3 years anyway? He's like, well, yeah, why? What do you mean? I said, well, listen, man, how would you like to arrive 2 to 3 years from now with 20, 30, maybe 40 deals already preloaded into your production for the year on January 1st? How would you like that? He's like, well, what are you talking about? I said, Jeff, listen, man, you start working this group consistently right now, a couple years down the road, you can easily expect that 8 to 10% ROI. So I said, listen, are you sure you're not going to flake out on me? You're not going to go get a different job in 6 months or something? He's like, no, man, I'm in this for the duration. I said, okay, then stop resisting. Stop being stubborn. You need to do what I'm telling you, man. And you can start by calling 3 to 5 of your past clients every single day. That's what I told him. 3 to 5 a day. Now, of course, he continued to resist. I continued to be the impatient prodder, But listen, and it's so funny because Kathy Schweitzer, I'm not sure if she's in the room right now, but she and I had a conversation about this a couple weeks ago, right? Because, see, she coached Jeff after I did. And guess what? She had the same damn problem with him. Same problem, trying to get him to call his past clients and, do his database. Some things, didn't change for a while. Well, let's go back to those 2 words I asked you to write down, compounding relationships, okay? And here's the premise. Tell me if you agree with this, okay? Here's the premise. Very simple. Everyone you know will know at least one person a year who buys or sells a home. Who thinks that's true? Okay? Everybody you know, unless they're a hermit, okay, they will know at least one person a year who will buy or sell a home. So compounding, what does that mean? That means that we have a systematic process to continually add people to our database. Very simple. A process, okay? A systematic process to add people who all have the potential, by the way, to give you a referral. Okay? And then the relationship part is just that. We work to develop a relationship with them. right? We try to add value to them. We try to stay relevant to them, okay? Because see, our goal is to be relevant when they're ready. Be relevant until they're ready, basically, or to get those referrals, okay? So listen, check this out. Imagine if you had a goal, and I imagine some of you in the room probably have this as a goal, okay? But imagine if you set this up that you were going to add just five people a week to your database that you did not know before, okay? And I'm not talking about leads, okay? We're not talking about leads. But if you added 5 people a week to your database that you did not know before, and you had some rules, right? They needed to qualify to be a part of this, okay? Just because they can fog a mirror doesn't mean they get invited into the database, okay? They have to pass a few tests. But imagine if you did that 40 weeks out of the year. Just 40 weeks out of the year. That would be 200 new people a year that you would add to your database besides your actual clients that you were doing deals with. Okay? Now watch, at an 8% ROI on the database, that's 16 more transactions a year. Okay? Now here's the fun part. I want you to write this in your notes, okay? I want you to multiply 16 times your average commission. Okay? Whatever your average commission, go ahead, write it down. 16 times whatever your average commission is. Okay? Do the quick math. 16 times whatever your average commission. Now, if you are looking at your notes right now, and you're looking at a number that is at least $100,000 or more, raise your hand real high. $100,000 or more. Watch this. Look around the room right now. Look around the room, gang, and tell me there is not power in working your database. Tell me there's not power in working your database. So it's pretty exciting for me to see now, all these years later, that one of the top sources of business for Jeff and his agents, repeat and referral business. It's pretty exciting, okay? It's for me to see this. Okay, so as we wrap this up, I'm going to have you consider one more word. Okay, one more word, and the word is decision. Write that down. What's the word? Decision. Because you see, at any given moment in time, we are all a sum total of all the choices, all the decisions that we have made up to that moment. Okay? Who would agree with this? Okay? We're a sum total, good or bad, right or wrong, we are a sum total of all the decisions and choices we've made up to this moment. Okay? And I can look back and I can trace a handful of decisions that I made early, at different points in my career that they kind of put me on a path. They put me on this like corridor of time that I can look back and I can see that time, those years that I worked with Jeff as his coach. I can see decisions after that to continue staying in touch with him and continue to encourage him and support him in any way that I could. And these decisions, they continue to pile up, and the consequences and results of those decisions continue to pile up and stack up, and they've culminated in a moment where literally I am now at this stage right now speaking to you. Okay? Every one of you has some decisions you need to make as well. Okay? Every one of you has some decisions because listen, if you've been here during this session, if you've been here, if you've been taking notes, if you've heard this information, you can't unhear it. You've been exposed. Okay? So you are in the moment of decision. And it's my opinion that one of the most important decisions that you can make right now, before you leave this event, okay, is the decision to stay connected to this material. Okay? The decision to stay connected to this incredible group of people known as the Glover U family. Okay? It's connected to whatever this moment is that you're feeling right now. You have a decision to stay connected to that. So you're saying, okay, James, that sounds great. How do I do that? Well, that's going to lead you to the next decision. And that is a decision to get involved in something that Glover U has to offer that is going to help you get to your unreal life as well. Okay? That's a decision that you have to make. And there are so many amazing programs, coaching. You need to decide what is right for me that is going to help me get to my unreal life. Now listen, back in 2007, Jeff and I weren't throwing around the phrase unreal life yet. Okay? But I can promise you, that is exactly what he was building. Okay? That's exactly what he was building. So, if this conversation has had some value to you, could I ask you a favor? On the count of 3, I want you to yell out the word unreal really loud for me. If this has had some value for you, okay? So you ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Unreal. All right, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Unreal. All right, listen, thank you. Thank you for proving my point that you are the most vibrant, the most engaged, the most professional audience on the planet. Thank you. Thank you.